Chris Inglis, former Deputy Director of the National Security Agency, welcome to CNN Business Arabic. First, I'd like to start by asking you, you've often said cybersecurity is about choices and not technology. Looking back at the last few years, what's the single most important choice the US has made or failed to make when it came to cyber? And during your time setting up the Office of the National Cyber Director, what gaps still remain till today?
The most important choice that we are making, we're not there yet, is to understand that it's less about technology than it is about getting the roles and responsibilities right. If we make it such that each of us contributes something meaningful to digital infrastructure to make it meet our expectations, we're more likely to succeed. Technology cannot substitute. The value of any chain, kind of in the use of a chain to pull a large object, is not in the weight of the chain, but in the strength of each of the links. And so we have to get that right in order to proceed. I don't think we've got it entirely right, but there's a discussion about that now that has traction. It's going to the places that it needs to. We have further work to do.
Chris, also during the last few years, we've seen multiple hacks, the solar wind hacks, Microsoft Exchange, and even insider leaks like the Pentagon documents on Discord. Hackers always seem one step ahead. How do these breaches keep slipping through? Is it about the technology? Is it about the legal blind spot or something deeper in how we address cybersecurity?
Hackers typically look at a system of interest as being comprised of an allocation of roles or responsibilities. They look to see whether there's some role that is important to the security of the whole that's not being executed properly. If that's true, they'll take advantage of it. If that's shored up, if that's in a good place, then they'll see if someone is about to make a mistake or if they can cause them to make a mistake. If they can't find a weakness in either of those first two, then they will look at technology to see if the technology has a weakness. Defenders need to think the same way, and in that order. Have we shored up the expectations about who's responsible for what? Have we got our people in a place where they're ready to serve the role regardless of where they are? Not just the IT specialists, but people in the front lines. And then and only then are we prepared to make the investments in technology so we bend it to that purpose. I think that's the way forward.
Chris, realistically, do you think defenders will be ever able to tip the balance in their favor?
I do think so, yes. What the Ukrainians have shown us in the war that they've been fighting against the Russians, not just in physical space, but in cyberspace, is that defense is viable, meaning it can work. And what have they done? That the masterclass that they've given us is they made modest investments in their technical architecture, things that we all know should be done. Building in segmentation and having patching strategies and having redundancy for data sets. Two, they've invested in expertise so that when somebody tries to take advantage of their digital infrastructure, the Ukrainians, know that better than anyone else could. They defend it well. And three, they have built and deployed a coalition so that the Russians have to beat the coalition. Not a group of co-combatants, but co-defenders. That's the way forward. And we need to get that right in the reverse order that I described it. Let's build the coalition. Let's get our skills in the right place, and then we can make investments in technology.
Also, the Cyber Safety Review Board, Trump had it replaced when he came to office, saying he cut bureaucracy and gave businesses more freedom from regulation. But critics said it disrupted investigations and weakened trust. From your perspective, what's the real impact on a move like that?
Well, I'm a fan of the Cyber Safety Review Board. I was on it in the early days, and I thought that the group of people who showed up at that table was sufficiently diverse. And I don't mean diverse in terms of the problematic aspects of just doing it for its own sake, but bringing different perspectives, different authorities, different capabilities to the table is essential to try to solve these problems going forward. Because I think we need to realize across that spectrum of participants that we're not trying to solve the similar problems. We're all trying to solve exactly the same problem. Why would we not collaborate to make that happen? There are other venues that exist where that's possible. Some of them are informal, some of them are formally constructed. So I think that we can still proceed taking the spirit of what's known as the CSRB, the Cyber Safety Review Board, forward. But collaboration is essential going forward.
Chris, as we know, there's a fine line between safety and privacy. There's a lot of debate on it. Some countries lean heavily on surveillance, saying it makes their country safer, while others claim it hinders personal freedom. So in your opinion, or in your experience, how do you strike the right balance between protecting people's rights and keeping them secure?
I think we have to work harder to deliver both of them. There should not be the conjunction or between them. We should not choose between privacy or safety or collective security. We should actually work harder to deliver both of them. The US Constitution, which is a frame of reference for where I was born and raised, actually never uses the word or in its preamble. It says that we're going to deliver the fruits of liberty, which is focused on the individual. At the same time, we're going to pursue collective defense, which means we have to work harder to align the two as opposed to making false choices between the two. That's harder to do than it is to say, but I think that's the job before us.
Cyber isn't only about stealing data nowadays. Criminals use AI, for example, for scams and ransomware. States use it to hit power grids, hospital, banks, and spread disinformation. Has cyber now become a battlefield in its own right, shaping both crime and war, or is it just still a tool alongside traditional power?
It's a great question. I think cyber is still an extension of our our ordinary lives, using all the physical assets and all the processes that we've used for millennia. But there are things taking place in cyber that are different in kind as an extension of our daily lives. And artificial intelligence is the latest edition of a transformative technology that is making a difference. The bad news is that those who would hold us at risk in cyberspace are making more robust use of artificial intelligence, generative AI, than the defenders are. Why? Because if it has some loose ends or if it has some effects that are not entirely predictable, the attackers like that. Defenders are inherently conservative, but the defenders have the right and the obligation to collaborate, not just with generative artificial intelligence, but with each other. And so we can actually form a coalition. We can employ artificial intelligence in that coalition and essentially crowdsource the adversaries the way they're crowdsourcing us. Technology is not the end game here. It is something that still empowers human beings.
To build on that, technology has also been used recently to not only disrupt systems, but to cause physical harm. We saw that in the recent pager attacks in Lebanon almost a year ago. What does that tell us about where cyber operations are heading? And how should we think about these blurred lines between the digital and the physical world or the physical attacks?
That's a great question. So I like to say, while I'm going to parse this as being cyber has an effect on three things, it's of course a continuum, but I think of it as three discrete effects. One is cyber can hold data or the systems that process and present data at risk. We've known that for 50 years. Cyber can hold critical functions at risk. Critical functions are an abstraction of data and the processing power that's given to us by the internet. But cyber can also hold confidence at risk. The confidence we have that critical infrastructure will work for us when we need it to. The confidence we have that an election delivers the right result. And we need to actually address all three of those threats. And I think the most pernicious, the most insidious of those is affecting our confidence. How do we build that confidence back? Make the necessary investments in the skills and the roles and responsibilities and the technical architecture so that it's likely to meet our expectations under challenged conditions. If we do that, then we have every reason to expect it will meet our expectations the way that automobile transportation does, air transportation does, drugs and therapeutics do. All of those are challenged in similar ways, and we need to therefore make the investments necessary to ensure that those will meet our expectations at a time and place of our choosing, not the transgressor's choosing.
Chris, thank you so much for being with us on CNN Business Arabic. It was lovely having you.
Thanks very much for taking this on.